A federal judge has granted a temporary restraining order blocking President Donald Trump's deployment of National Guard troops in the state of Illinois for 14 days. I want to take you through some of the details that the judge issued and what she called a high-level summary or her oral ruling over the course of today. So let's start with some of the things she cited. She cited previous California decisions in saying that Perry, the judge, April Perry, described rebellions as, quote, deliberate, organized resistance, openly opposing the government as a whole. And she said, I have seen no credible evidence that there has been rebellion in the state of Illinois. And that part was crucial because the federal government had been arguing up to this point that violent actions and threats by protesters constituted, quote, at least a danger of a rebellion against federal authorities. Judge Perry said that the evidence demonstrates that the deployment of National Guard may lead to civil unrest. She added that she finds that deploying the National Guard will only add fuel to the fire that the defendants have started in her characterization. And the evidence has shown, as she said, that National Guardsmen are not well-trained law enforcement officers. And then she also talked about Broadview, which is where we are, and talked about some of the protests we've seen outside this federal ICE detention facility, again, just outside Chicago, and a place that has been a focal point of a lot of the protests over the past few weeks. She described how at one recent protest, there were 200 protesters, but there were 100 state and local law enforcement officers on site, and that state and local law enforcement were able to maintain control. Part of what the federal government has argued in their need for National Guard troops is that they needed it to adequately protect federal property and personnel. Ultimately, as she painted this bottom line, this came down to the court being left with having to make a, quote, credibility determination. And she called the assessments made by DHS as, quote, unreliable.